Let's go, baby. Chuck already on the screen, which Earn Dog he wasn't supposed to be, but whatever, dude. He's here. You're here now, Chuck. What's happening, baby?
I'm inevitable. You can't hold me back.
You're such a sneak, dude. You really are, dude. Hey, what's that hat, dude? That thing's sick.
What's the Bucks, baby? They're on a bye this week, so I can rep them hard. 3-1, leading the division. Dude. Baker Mayfield going strong, showing up to Rays games, even while the rest of the town isn't.
I can't believe that, dude. They had fewer people at the playoff game than I saw, a number of regular season games for some of the worst teams, which obviously is crazy.
But, yeah, it's funny too. I'm from St. Pete, so it's it's a black mark for sure. But hey, 3-1, just went into New Orleans, beat the Saints. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, hey, wait, dude. All you gotta do is win. That'll fix everything, right? Win the Super Bowl, have a parade, but. Anyway, this is Coop's Fantasy Football Fiasco on Fantasy Alarm on Better Sports Network, sponsored by FFPC. Today, the fun show, the Friday show, all week long. We're doing, Monday on the show, we break down the usage. Boring. I love it, but, it's not having Chuck Bass on, On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we do waivers, trades, start sits. And then today's the best day. We go through the slate. We make an FFPC team, so make sure you go to my FFPC, use promo code Coop, get set up, deposit $35 or more. They'll give you 25. We're going to make one of those today, but I'm excited. And I'll tell you what, Chuck, so far on the show, we've never made it through the full slate. We always end up talking about nonsense. I'm sure you are the nonsense champion of the world, so I'm sure we won't get through. But we have the benefit of bye weeks, so maybe 2 less games this week, Chuck. Do you think we can get through?
Nope. It's not even. We're not even gonna get close.
It's not happening. I know.
It's not even shot. That's the way it's meant to be, right?
Yeah. So first, before we get into it, let's just real quick talk about the game last night, man. Obviously, I've never said anything bad about the Bears on the show or on Twitter. I never would.
What could you say?
Huge Bears fan. So
is there a tag on that?
I think it actually says Jimmy Graham on the back.
Yes.
But it's a Jimmy Graham jersey. But I've got to say, Justin Fields came out and the naysayers have been naying. And not only did he look good running the ball, but just crushed throwing the ball. So are these Bears for real, or is it just kind of matchups? What are your thoughts, man?
I don't see any scenario last night where what they did on offense doesn't continue to be replicable unless they are absolutely down their first and second string running backs on the reg. They made it look easy on him. He had some layups. Everybody looked good. Maybe a couple missed opportunities with Darnell Mooney. But otherwise, DJ Moore showed up and was that guy that we all wanted to say could be the Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown, but we were a little tepid about it because, that's a big ask for what we've seen out of Chicago. But, man, this is just what everybody wanted, right? It was the layup game against what I thought was a better defense. Not anymore.
Yeah. For real, though. I think they still can be, but the thing is, the mobile QB kind of neutralizes the power pass rushers, like the Chase Youngs. Yeah. It's the Jared Goffs and the Kirk Cousins of the world need to be terrified, but they can get away a little bit, and you see what happens. Shout out everybody in the chat. We see you guys: Victor, Britt, Rex, Albert.
We
got Swamp Dog. We got the Twitch gang. Get the Twitch glasses out for Twitch gang, dude. Look at this lineup. He's got DJ Moore already gone, Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson. Oh my God, that's got to feel good, right, Chuck?
It has to. Last night, Cooper Kupp, the man, the foot drill king, the guy who's supposed to come back and save everybody's lineups. Does anybody ever come back and save lineups? I feel like we always say it's going to happen, but does it ever actually happen?
No. Not the way that we think, and especially not if you pay up. I've done it. So I actually stopped doing it with players who are injured. So if I never play the guessing game. I'll never sit here and say that guy's healthy, but I bet he gets hurt. I hate the Dr. Fortune Teller move.
Sure.
Honestly, people tried to do it with Christian McCaffrey last year, and then Jonathan Taylor was the one that got hurt. Right. So I don't play that game, but too many times I've been the one that said, "Oh, Odell Beckham's hurt now." But when he gets back, you know what I mean? Like Michael Thomas, when he was hurt before the season. If you get hurt in August, dead to me, dude. So I don't have much Cooper Kupp, but I did just trade for him in a dynasty league. on Sunday with
Nice.
my buddy. We were drinking beers or
Yep.
whatever. And I was
Mhm.
like, I got all these tight ends. Someone take one. Right. I'm like, I have,
Yep.
because I'm the tight end whisperer. So I always hoard them. So on this one
Mhm.
team, I have TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, and Sam Laporta. And
Sure.
me and three of my buddies are all in the
Ooh,
league. Yeah. I know. So me and three of
premium.
my buddies all in the league, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, somebody take a tight end from me. And then when the negotiations were over, I had traded my first round pick for Cooper Kupp, and I still have all three tight
Dope.
ends. So those kind of
So you're
negotiations.
full.
That's how trades
You're
go.
so you know what's about to happen, right? You know he's coming back. You see all the stats we all see. They don't occupy the same role. Matthew Stafford is leading the league in dropbacks. Like, this is the wheels up if wheels up ever did exist.
Exactly. So now he's going to be like bringing water out to Puka Nakua or something. Like, yeah, that's how it always happens, right, Chuck?
Oh God. Yeah. Peter
Anyway,
Schrager's
let's get
gonna
into
have some
slate.
BS report.
We've managed to waste 6 minutes, Chuck. We have, there's only 2 less games, so there's still a pretty full slate. And if we spend
Sure.
2 minutes on each team,
Mhm.
we still won't hit the mark. So let's get in there.
Yeah.
9:30 a.m. Jags at Bills. -5.5 is the line. The total's 48,
Mhm.
48.5. If you have seen something different, I know you're plugged in on stuff, let me know. But
Mhm.
is this one? And again, with this show, anyone familiar knows that I would never ask a guest to pick every single game. I think that's stupid. I think if you're betting every
Mhm.
game, then you're either a genius or an idiot. There's no in between. Uh,
Mhm.
I personally look at it and I say, okay, I'm only going to bet if I truly believe. So for you, is there a bet
Mhm.
here? That's the question I have. I don't say, who do you like? I say, is there a bet? 5.5, 48 point over under. You got something?
Yeah, I love the over on 48.5, and I love it because I'm
Ooh.
absolutely insane, not because I think it's the sharp man, sharp pick. I just think that this is, the team of all teams on the biggest role in the Bills, and then a team that I think can go punch to punch with them in the Jaguars. And they're the ones who have already played in London, so they don't need to adjust as much as I think Buffalo might have to. So I'm hoping that we get an A+ game out of the Jags offense, and I expect a similar A- to A+ game out of the Bills, who have just look, they've been absolutely rolling.
Love it, dude. All right, I'm in. And not to mention, I like any excuse I get to bet the over, I like to do it because it's
Mhm.
more fun. It's just more fun to root for points. And it's not like the thing with player props is the over sometimes can be a sucker bet because not only can you lose because of production, but you can lose because of injury. But
Yep.
that doesn't really happen with the over under for betting. It happened one time with
Yeah.
Damar Hamlin, but beyond that, it
Yep.
doesn't really happen. Like the game will be played. So that's fun.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into fantasy. That's what the people want. And folks out there in the chat, throw out questions, comments on the game we're talking about. That's the easiest way for us to
Mhm.
answer your questions. If we're talking about Jags and Bills and you throw out a question on Luke Musgrave, well, that's the Monday
Mhm.
night game. We're not going to get to that to the end of the show, so we're probably not going to answer it. But if you pop out here like Swamp Donkey and throw in your comments like, "Hey, under Jags will run
Leading
the ball,
in.
short yardage, high
Yeah.
volume," then there you go,
Mhm.
dude. We'll talk about it. I mean, you just smacked my guest
Topical.
right in the mouth. You smacked my guest directly in the mouth, but I kind of like it, dude. I kind of like you, Swamp Donkey.
Yeah,
What do you
he's
think
not
about
afraid.
that?
I think that he looked me up and down and said, "This guy sucks." As a little plug there.
A little plug for
No, and
your
he's
stuff.
he's not wrong. That's the play, right? The Bills have been susceptible to the run. The Jaguars have not been great at the run, but you're getting that volume with ETN that you want. But it's like it's what is it with the Bills? Are they susceptible to the run because they're getting out to these big leads, or are they susceptible to the run because they're susceptible to the run? That's kind of the rub here, and that's what you have to identify. I think that the Jaguars struggle to run the ball, and so I think that if they're going to have to trade punches with the Bills, it's going to be a high flying act.
I like it, man. Now, do you put any stock into the notion of the jet lag situations where it's like, okay, Bills going over there might be jet lagged. The Jags have been over there for a week already. They played last
Mhm.
week. And the team that played there last week is coming back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Where are your thoughts on that? Does that matter at all to you?
It doesn't to me because they're both East Coast teams, and I think it's just like the modern era of the NFL where it's like, come on, all the stuff that they can do to get these guys primed and ready to play in the most horrific conditions, whether it's physical, mental, whatever, they can handle jet lag. Like that's
It's not
ridiculous in
that
my
big a
mind.
deal. They've been out there for a few days. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
suck it up, dude. Right. And they have
just a little
the
in it.
thing is, it's so important to these teams. You have to remember that, they have a full health and training
Mhm.
staff, conditioning staff no
Exactly.
question that when you go to Denver, they're thinking about the altitude. When you go to Mexico, they're thinking about the air quality and the altitude and all
Yeah.
the other horrible things and the laser pointers and all that. And when they go
Mhm.
over here, they're like, you know what, dude, you can have fish and chips one night, but you can't have it every night, dude. Like, so they're clearly thinking about the conditions of the game being played. As far as the players themselves,
Oh, yeah.
Calvin Ridley, in or out on him?
Mhm.
You in or out?
God, how I like, do you have a choice but to be in based
No.
upon what you expect from him? And oh, yeah, exactly. Like the choice is taken out of your hands. I mean, like Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram have been the only shreds of reliability on the offense. And the big joke going around this week that was, Calvin Ridley was a busted touchdown away from having 3 consecutive awful performances. Awful.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. AJ Terrell kind of locked him down. Trey White, we know, out for the season
Yeah.
again. That stinks. So he should be all right there. Albert's got a question in the chat, and Albert's doing it right because it involves a player in this game. So bench one of these players: Ridley, Ayuk, or Nico Collins.
Oh boy, why do you have to bench all three of
And
my
we
favorite
just
wide
we
receivers?
just mentioned AJ Terrell. The hot name's been Nico Collins. We just mentioned AJ Terrell. That's who Nico Collins gets this week.
Yeah, I'm actually benching Nico Collins, and I hate
I think
that
so too.
in regards to how hot he's been. But you just look at the game script and who they're playing against, and the likely, the possessions in this game versus the possessions in the Texans Falcons game. I'd take the wide receiver ones there for sure.
For sure, man. And here's the thing. The
Mm.
beautiful thing about that, Albert, is that you bench Nico Collins and say, okay, you know what? I'm doing the right thing here, but you're also rooting for him on the bench because if he can show out versus AJ Terrell, now he's proven that
Can't lose.
because Nico is an outside guy. He's built like Kenny Galladay. He's going to play split end. If he can go up against a guy that always stays out there and covers the outside guy. I mean, like when
Yeah.
they played the Lions, they didn't move Terrell into the slot to cover Amon-Ra St. Brown. They just let him vaporize Josh Reynolds, and I don't think Josh Reynolds caught a single pass.
Mhm.
So
Shocking.
this is a tough test. Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
What are you gonna do? How what up, dude? So
What's up,
on the Bills
pal?
side, yeah. I mean, with the rest of the Jags, it's like you know what you got to do with Christian Kirk. It's whatever.
Mhm.
Evan Ingram, you start him. Travis Etienne, definitely start him. So we
Yeah.
don't have to worry too much about the Jags. On the Bills side, can you trust Gabe Davis?
You know what? I think that's just
Yeah.
one of those like to be or not to be's, right? It's going to be with generate my kids' kids will be asking some sort of similar questions. No, and I hate to
I
say it,
know.
no, because he's been so hot and he's been so fun. But you just look at it, it's just like it's like playing blackjack, right? Like you're on a streak, and then all of a sudden you're cold and you're outside dancing on top of your car because you don't know what the hell just happened in your life. Like just the
Exactly.
Bills have a very obvious track plan with where they're going with some of their guys, and I like Dalton Kincaid a lot this week.
Yeah, let's go. Dalton Kincaid, first week yet, he played more snaps than Dawson Knox. The first week that he
Mhm.
ran more routes than Dawson Knox, and he ran 23 routes, which tied Gabe Davis, was second behind only Stephon Diggs. Now, I'm hearing
Mm.
that Dawson Knox is banged up, and
Mm.
that's always two-sided. On one side, we say, "Oh, nice, he's banged up. That should help Dalton Kincaid." On the
Mhm.
other side, we have to ask, did he only play more because this guy's banged up? It's like this game we play.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Double-edged
ridiculous.
sword.
So, but I gotta say, I mean, I'm still in. You're holding on to Kincaid, or even starting him.
I mean, like I think you probably more than most people have a very like bird's eye view on what the tight end like career path is, right? And like when they kind of start to develop, and like a lot of people were expecting him to boom right away, and I think I was probably closer to your side where it's like how they're going to bring him along. And they're doing it. You can see signs of it each game. There's been certain little mile markers, right? They may not be huge ones, but he's starting to check these little boxes that you want to see for somebody who's going to be used like we want them to use. They're already back up to second in the league in 12 personnel, which is just like from being dead last year. Like, all right.
Yeah, it's all relativity. It's all relativity because if you look at Dalton Kincaid in a vacuum, we would be
Mhm.
sitting here and saying, put it this way: if Sam Laporta didn't exist, we'd be sitting here saying, okay, Dalton Kincaid, we've got this rookie tight end. He's playing slot wide receiver, right?
Mhm.
If you look at 4 games all time, he's tied among rookie tight ends 7th all time with Kyle Pitts through 4 games for
Mhm.
receptions,
Ooh.
right? So it's like all those numbers
Mhm.
would be there, but because Sam Laporta blew up right away and he's so good right away, we basically sit here
Yeah.
and say this guy, like as
He's
your
laying in the cut.
famous saying, this guy sucks. We're like, he's just not blowing up that quickly. All right, so we're
Yeah.
through a quarter of the show. We've talked about one game, Chuck. Let's move on to the
We're
Texans
tracking
Falcons.
right now.
Yeah, we're tracking. We got to fly here, so we're gonna go through this quick.
Yep.
Rapid fire me. Is CJ Stroud? Well, first, we got to hit for the gambling folks out there. Texans at Falcons -1.5. So this is supposed to be a competitive game. Total over under is 41.5, which is not amazing. But I don't know. Is there a bet here? Is there a bet to be had?
I like a same game parlay of Falcons to cover in the over.
Ooh, okay. So Falcon, I
Just
like
a
the
little
Falcons
bit.
defense. I think people need to
Yeah.
pump the brakes a little bit on the Texans. We like the idea. We like the way they're trending, but I mean the Falcons defense, dude, awesome. Jesse Bates, what a great acquisition for them. So,
hugely underrated unit across the league. The Falcons defense on all sides. Are all levels too.
Yeah. We got a question involving this game. Carlos Pena. Carlos, what's up, brother? Thanks for popping in. He wants to know, trade Nico Collins or Puka and get back Waller and Romeo Doubs.
That doesn't feel good for me because I haven't seen enough of everybody in Green Bay together to know what Doubs is really going to be like. And I have about as little trust in the Giants right now as I do a single organization. And Puka, absolutely not. Nico, I could be talked into if you think they're going to continue to bounce who the ball is going to be in Houston, but it doesn't feel good.
He says his current tight end is Musgrave. So I don't know, man. I think I would just roll with Nico, Puka, and Musgrave just to hold on to what you got, man. Why does the Bills have a Week 13 bye week? Because the schedule makers don't care about us. The NFL doesn't care about us.
This is an AI problem. They brag on every broadcast about how Amazon's what is it? AWS, about how they set the schedule. Like if you have a problem with that, take it up with Amazon.
There's no teams on bye week 8 or week 12. I think one of those is Thanksgiving, which makes some sense, but I don't know. Amazon, go away. Nico, all right, rapid fire because we got to get through this. CJ Stroud, actually, don't go away, Amazon. I love you, but just be a little more nice.
Be cool.
You know what I mean? Be cool.
Be cool,
bro. Be cool. CJ Stroud, QB1, yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen enough information between not just how they've played, but the defenses they've played and kind of the ups and downs the other defenses have had. They haven't all been piss poor. So I think it's a real adult offense with a real adult offensive coordinator. And I love how they're moving all their guys around.
Said yes or no?
Yes.
I'm just kidding, bro. A lot of good points. We got to fly through this, though. Nico, I go on your show, and it's just a bunch of nonsense. I have to give you.
No, I'm going to pull it in. I'm going to pull it in.
Okay, Nico Collins versus Tank Dell. Yes or no? Or you Nico Collins or Tank Dell. Pick one.
Okay, I was going to say, Nico. I trust Nico more.
Okay, cool. And then the Texas running back situation is just kind of, it is what it is. So I don't really even care to talk about that. With the Falcons, Pitts, man, are you hanging on to Kyle Pitts? And do you think Jonnu Smith is worth adding in any sort of format?
I don't trust what's going on with Kyle Pitts, and I do think that Jonnu Smith is worth adding. It's just going to be the year of streaming tight ends. I mean, unless you have the big dogs, that's just going to be how it goes, and he's certainly a viable option.
Yeah, the problem you run into with streaming tight ends is that, and like certain people are, it's like I read my DFS article. I'm like, yeah, start Tyler Higbee this week. But the problem is, it's like I look around and I'm like, who am I going to drop to add Tyler Higbee? I don't want to drop guys like Kincaid or Waller or Pitts, who I think have long-term upside. So now I'm going to drop one of my wide receivers to play this guy for 1 week before Cooper Kupp gets ramped up. And then I obviously drop him because I'm not going to start a tight end that's on a team with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. It's like, people are always asking me, they're like, oh, do I start Tyler Conklin this week versus the Broncos? I'm like, I don't know. Just play DFS, dude. Like it's the difference between
change it up.
The difference between what you like, the minor upside of Higbee or Conklin versus what you already have in a Waller or Pitts or Kittle or Goddard. Like, I'd rather just start Dallas Goedert, even though I was telling people not to draft him. I'd rather just start Dallas Goedert knowing that if a wide receiver gets hurt, now I have a high-end asset. Like, that's not going to happen for some of these other guys. Like, if Allen Lazard goes down, Tyler Conklin doesn't get any better, right? So anyway, Ritter,
like
Desmond Ritter. Do you think he's going to start the entire year? Do you want to see him benched? Where are you at, Ritter? Do you think he hasn't gotten a fair shake yet?
No, I think he hasn't been done great. He hasn't been given a great job, but I think we've seen enough of him. I mean, he's dead last in EPA per play combined with like completion percentage over expectation. He's just above Joe Burrow, which is not like company you want to keep. They don't ask him to do much, and when they do, he's not capable of doing much. It's just a piss poor situation.
Yeah, but until like as long as they're 2-2 winning games or whatever, then it's not like you bench him for Taylor for Heineke, you know. So
yeah, Heilicke's
we'll
not the
see.
answer either. It's just you're right. The weighted performance doesn't play as big of a deal as it might on another team, like the Bengals.
Too early to get a Bijan Robinson jersey, or have you seen enough?
Bijan Robinson is one of my props of the week. Over what is the rushing
Oh yeah.
yards? I don't know if you want to hold on to it or not. Over 77.5. He's my AVN breakthrough performance of the week.
Hell yeah.
I expect big things out of him.
Now is the exact time. So when we talk about the bets for like over, under, minus 10, 40, throw any prop bets in there. We do a little quick betting thing. So definitely throw those props in there. Yeah. So Bijan, everyone smash that because Chuck's good at this.
Yeah.
Next one, Panthers at Lions. 10. This, from what I've seen, the last time I looked, 10-point dogs.
Cat fight.
Kind of bouncing around. Is that me? Yeah, they're gonna lose. Losing team has to take DJ Chark with them.
Oh god.
So
the Chark Bowl. You're right. It's the Chark Bowl. We got a bunch of bowls this week. We got the Wilson Bowl. We've got the Chark Bowl.
I know, dude. We had the Brown versus Brown last night with De'Ami Brown versus Equanimous St. Brown. De'Ami Brown.
There's a lot of Brown last night.
Shout out our boy Troy King, dude. If De'Ami Brown catches that touchdown pass, Troy wins like 10 grand, but instead he won 40 bucks. It was literally, he had the same lineup as the guy that won it all. Yeah. The guy that won it had Antonio Gibson. And so literally Antonio Gibson scored like 10 points. If De'Ami Brown catches that touchdown, then he has the best lineup. It's not even close. So
instead we're talking about him here on a Friday.
Yeah, shout out Troy King. Oopsie doops. So favorite Panthers wide receiver, if you had to pick one for fantasy football.
I don't even think no one else even exists on the team other than Thielen. His move to slot has been tremendous and really revitalized his, second little run here. They just keep alternating. I don't even think they know. Mingo, Marshall, Chark. It's a hot potato.
We haven't seen it yet, but I've been doing like a little. You know how when you were a kid, you had those things where you had to like read a story and then like cross out, like eliminate people by like the details until you figure out like what's going on. I've been kind of doing that where wide receivers missed every game, but so Thielen's played a full snap share in all of them. In the game where Mingo and when Chark first came back, it was Terrace Marshall that played the partial snap share. Mingo played the whole game. And then Mingo got hurt and Chark played the whole game. So we can kind of rule out Terrace Marshall, I think, at this point as a full-time player. So the question, and so Thielen's in, Marshall's out, and now the question is Mingo versus DJ Chark. So if you had to pick one to throw on a bench spot, do you like Mingo or Chark?
I'll take Mingo. I always take the guy who's coming in with a new organization over the guy who kind of, even not that his struggles were his own fault last year, but Marshall's kind of a carryover from the previous regime. I guess we have to ask ourselves, does anybody after Thielen really even matter? And I know that sounds harsh, but 167 yards a game for Young, 180 for Dalton. Like, what's happening here?
Well, I tell people this every year where I say, hey, go back and look at last year's wide receiver 36, which is technically a wide receiver 3. That player was terrible. Okay. And if you take two wide, you know what I mean? It's like, usually it's like Tyler Boyd or something, right? Or like Curtis Samuel. I think it was Curtis Samuel. I'll just tell you who it is right now.
Touchdown machine, Curtis Samuel.
I have the technology. Yeah. Superstar running back, Curtis Samuel. We have the technology to just tell you right now who it is. So I will tell you who it is.
We are capable.
And you look at it and you say, okay, wide receiver 36 last year in PPR was Josh Palmer. There you go, dude. So like, these were your back end wide receiver 3s: Curtis Samuel, Alan Lazard, Gabe Davis, Josh Palmer, and then wide receiver 37 was Tyler Boyd. So like, think about how bad those players were, right? If you take two wide receivers from every team, that's 64 players, buddy. So there are teams that aren't even going to have one good wide receiver. You got to keep that in mind. Think how many teams have two, right? Now the math that's where the math gets crazy, where it's like, okay, you have Devonta Smith and AJ Brown and Tyreek Hill and Waddle. with all those
The
teams having 2,
consolidation.
now you're talking like 90 guys. You know what I mean? So forget about some of these wide receiver twos.
Shout out
2-point
current
short.
wide receiver 36, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah. Shout out, dude. Dude. Come on, I need Ridley to step it up here. We do have a question in the chat on this game. We have a couple. Confidence level in Mingo and Gibbs this week. Mingo, we already talked about, not super confident, but worth a stash. Gibbs, how you feeling? This could be, they're going to run all over the Panthers. I wonder, last week, I was just surprised that you figure with 2 running backs, if you're running like crazy, you don't give one guy 30 and the other guy 8. You do like 20 and 15 at least.
Yeah.
Shocking.
That was the extreme game, and there's always one of them when there's this kind of scenario. I think this is going to be like one of those games, almost like in a bad relationship where the girl's like, I'll give him one more chance, and then he acts good for a little bit, and then it goes back to what it was before. This is going to be that games for Gibbs. This is going to be him. This is like cleaning the house, doing the dishes, picking up his stepdaughter from school kind of game, and then it'll go back to, drinking all night with the buddies after this.
Hell yeah. There you go, dude. All right. I feel it, dude. Chat likes your
But
shirt.
I know from experience or anything.
Also, yeah, I know. You and me, Chuck.
What up, James? Jameson?
The Josh Allen Bowl. That's another one, dude. And then somebody had a good question here. Jameson Williams. They had a Jameson Williams question. I'm going to answer this one real quick because we're out of time on this team. But he says, Jameson Williams going to get the big targets in his debut? Probably not, because the thing is, he hasn't been able to practice with the team. Even with the hamstring, he couldn't practice. And then the rules of being suspended say you can't practice. He could go to meetings and stuff, but the coach already came out and said you can't just throw a player out there for 60 snaps in his first game. It's not smart. And he's not saying it's not smart because he's not ready in terms of, mentally and being with the team or whatever. It's physically, he's not ready to play gladiator sport for 60 snaps. So.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of people who think that this is like, oh, I'm on Ross St. Brown dealing with an abdominal injury. Could be a Jameson Williams like breakout game. Like, no, the way Jared Goff is cooking right now, it's going to be a mix of everybody. It's going to be very Mahomes-esque, a lot of small target share for a lot of different guys.
Yeah, so many people are going to drop Jameson Williams after this week, and I'm going to pick him up. Titans at Colts is next game. We are not. There's no chance we get through all these games. Titans at Colts plus 2.5. Total is 43.5. Any props, any bets you like here? Do you like betting the game itself? Any player props?
I'm gonna go against my own grain here and say I'm gonna abstain from this game. This just feels like a gross, ugly game that Red Zone doesn't even go to on Sunday. It's always some sort of slug fight, and if anybody can keep Anthony Richardson from being the guy we love, it's the Tennessee defense.
Right. And now, are there any play? Yeah, the front seven for the Titans is pretty rough. Jeffrey Simmons, that guy's an animal. Are there any? Are you even holding on to DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Chigakonkwo, or are they even worth holding at this point?
No, I don't think so.
Hopkins,
because like you said, you look at that range, that endless middle from wide receiver 30 to wide receiver 70. Can't pass up his target share, but I mean, it's grim. It's very grim. And you know what sucks is I don't even think Ryan Tannehill looks bad. When he has a clean pocket and he can deliver, I still think he's capable of playing at like a knockoff version of Ryan Tannehill, but they leave a lot to be desired from their concepts on offense.
Yeah, I feel it, man. It's brutal. And Ryan Tannehill, he can't even throw a wide open flea flicker touchdown pass. He's missed 2 of those already. So trying to trust him to throw normal passes is – he can't even throw the wide open ones. Anthony Richardson, is he going to score a rushing TD every single week?
Yes, because I'm not going to be the guy that says no.
You can't.
No.
You can't say no.
I can't.
Not on this show. Alec Pierce versus Josh Downs. Is Josh Downs ever going to get the full role? Or is they just going to keep telling Alec Pierce to go stand in the corner of the field?
I think it's. I think it's coming. It's not coming at the rate that I want, but I mean, Alec Pierce just hasn't shown anybody anything to make you think that run, like you said, that run out and stand in the corner role will be his. And they need what Josh Downs can do. I think that's really one of the only things missing from the offense.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. We got a couple quick questions in the chat. Are you one last one on this game? Are you holding Zach Moss still? Or are you just going to drop him? If Jonathan Taylor if they say Jonathan Taylor's active, do you just drop Moss before the games? Do you hold him through the games?
I'm holding him in the short term because I think that he'll have more of a target. He'll have more of an involvement than the other backups have had to him. So how much I think Jonathan Taylor is obviously to the moon if he's fullback and healthy, but I also it stems from my insecurity with the Colts and their ability to just, ride the steady train.
got to hold them through one game just to see if there's a split first and foremost. But also we talk about outs at times. I know you brought up blackjack. You talk about outs. With the handcuffs, you need Jonathan Taylor. Like you need the starter to get hurt in most cases with Jonathan Taylor. But in this case, you have a second out, which is the trade rumors, right? So possibility
big
there.
time.
Let's hit some quick questions in the chat, guys. If you could try and hang out and ask about the relevant games when we're talking about them, that's going to help us speed this up. But we love you, so we're going to answer your questions anyway. 8-team. Here we go. Can we trust Mostert, McLaughlin, or fire up Cup? So basically, this is who do you start? Raheem Mostert, McLaughlin, or Coop Cup? Quick.
I'm firing up Mostert, baby. I like Cup,
Mostert
but he's
8-team PPR, 2 RB, 2 flex, and okay. So I'm gonna narrow this down for you. You're starting Kyron Williams, you're starting Waddle, you're starting Metcalf, you're starting Pittman. And so the question is Saquon Barkley, Achane, or Hall. Pick one of those.
Saquon Barkley, Achane, or Hall. Ooh, I like
That's
Hall this week. I love Hall this week.
There you go. Brees Hall in there. Salsco, what's up, dude? I've seen him floating around player profile, some of those other channels. I am everywhere, dude, all the time. I'm on this channel every day, 1 to 3. His question is just traded away Devonta Smith, Achane, Najee, Ferguson for Tyreek Hill. New lineup.
Holy shit.
New lineup is lagging, dude. And you're already up. He's between
DJ
Moore and Logan Thomas, you already have like 60 points. So yeah, that team's lagging. Good trade, man. Good job.
Nice.
All right,
Very
back to
well
the games,
done.
dude. We're not going to get through any of this. But again, guys in the chat, if you can ask questions or have comments about the games we're talking about at the time, that helps us out a lot. Giants at Dolphins. Boy, the Giants are looking ugly, and Vegas agrees. So, I mean, sometimes teams will have these like bad games, and then Vegas will come back and be like, you know what, this team really isn't that bad this week. They're saying they are that bad. It's minus 12.5 is what I saw last. 47.5 point over under. And the thing is, the Dolphins, both these teams lost last week, but the Dolphins just lost in kind of embarrassing fashion. And sometimes good teams will come out and say, hey, you know what? We gotta right the ship here. We gotta murder these boys.
That's the story.
So,
that's the story here.
Where do you rank Tua this week?
I have Tua as my QB 6 of the week. I think he's going to sling. They're too good to not. And when a great team that didn't just play gets smacked down, like you just said, and going up against a team that has low morale and really no defense like the Giants have, it's perfect storm. Perfect storm.
Is that our quarterback for our FFPC team this week? Maybe. We're going to make an FFPC team.
Yeah.
So hang tight, everybody. We're going to do that. Maybe. We'll think about it. The Dolphins, we know what we're looking at. It's like Durham Smythe is a DFS play. I actually don't mind him in DFS, right? Because he's like very boring, but his price is like 3,000 on DraftKings. It's like it's literally the bare minimum price on Yahoo.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a guy that, the thing is, when you get to that range, nobody's getting targets. So all you're doing is chasing touchdowns, right? Like the upside for those guys is they score 1 touchdown, and anyone's capable of 2. But I look at Durham Smythe, and it's like in that range, there's nobody who's getting 3 or 4 targets a game, which he is, except for the one game he got hurt in, where he plays the whole game. They treat him like George Kittle, even though he's not George Kittle, he's Durham Smythe. And he's like, hey, Durham Smythe is at this moment maybe just as good as George Kittle.
If he wants to play the George Kittle role, I ain't hating on it.
Got to sneak him in some DFS lineups. That's a free one. That's the article's usually behind the paywall. That one's in there this week. 3,000 on DraftKings. He's free on Yahoo. Don't use him on FanDuel. The rule of Chuck, I'm not sure if you ever compared prices at tight end on these websites, but there's a pretty solid rule of thumb that you pay up for tight end on FanDuel and you pay down on DraftKings and Yahoo.
That's a nice little baseline.
So, like, to put it in perspective, TJ Hawkinson on DraftKings and Yahoo this week is going to be like 15% of your budget. On FanDuel, he's 11. But if you go down to the cheap guys, none of them are. There's like no bare minimum price players. There never is, and all the mid price players are priced up. So they kind of squeeze it on FanDuel, whereas on DraftKings, it's like high.
Do you find one to be more effective than the other?
No, it depends on who I like each week. So I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, like I like the high end guys. Like if I love Travis Kelce, I play FanDuel because you get him. FanDuel this week has a special price for Kelce. Have you seen that?
I have not, but I saw people freaking out about it on Twitter.
Yeah. It's like Kelsey's number plus her
Yeah,
album number, whatever, but it is
it's
actually a discount
ridiculous.
percentage
Yeah,
wise. So yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, Daniel Jones, does he have the most punchable face in all of football? Yes or no?
Yeah, but I think it's intentional. I think
Yeah.
that's what he's going for, and I think that makes it a little easier to stomach.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's like you look at him and you're like, well, you're like, why isn't he better? And then you look at him and you're like, oh, yeah, that's why. Darren Waller is he dust or I'm hanging on? But I mean, if people come to you and say, "Can I drop Darren Waller?" Is there a world where you say, "Yeah, go ahead"? Right
I
now he's 10
can't
and
because
12.
I can't because I'm a masochist and I can barely even take it myself. It's just annoying because he's doing everything you would want Darren Waller to do. It's just everyone else is not holding up their end of the bargain. He's crushing it in the slot. I mean, crushing it. His production is crushing it compared to his
Right.
crushing at when he lines up at right tight, left tight, all that jazz. But they're just not getting him the ball.
Now, real quick, without explanation, pick one of these loser wide receivers from the Giants.
Wandale.
Good pick. That's my pick too.
Wandale,
Nice.
baby.
Southsco with a great point here. Mac Jones might have a more punchable face than Daniel Jones. I think that
Ooh, the Jones
honestly,
Bowl. We got a Jones Bowl too between punchable
it's
faces.
very close.
Bowl
It's
week.
very close. Yeah.
Bowl season, baby.
All right, let's do one more game and then let's make an FFPC team. So Saints at Patriots. Yeah, well, let's do the most exciting, fun game here. Saints at Patriots.
Gross ball.
-1. Over under 40 points, which you don't see too often, but there's a few of them this week. 39 point over under. I mean, Alvin Kamara, at least ton of targets. Is he an RB1 or is that kind of like a fraud target game? You think there?
That was the most hilarious, like fantasy scoregami. Like I've never seen this combination of statistics
Insane.
before.
I actually saw somebody pointed out that of people with 13 receptions or more, no one's ever had less than 75 yards, and he had 33.
That sounds like the Saints season in a nutshell right now. If I had to pick one, let Jameis out of the bag. Let him out.
Let him chalk, dude. Rashid Shaheed or Michael Thomas? Who would you rather have in fantasy?
Michael Thomas, man, he's plugging away as the bridesmaid. 50, 60 in every game. He just needs a touchdown. He leads the team in red zone targets. They just need a healthy, good quarterback.
Yeah. Should Bill Belichick be fired? And honestly, you can answer this question from either side, where if you don't think he's a good coach, or if you think he's too good of a coach and this team needs to come in last, so you got to get him out of there. What are your thoughts? Should they you just can't fire a legend like that?
Everything I know about Boston as an area in the United States leads me to believe they'll never tank and they'll never try to be bad. My hope before the Bucs played this season was that he would get out of there and come down to Tampa. But now I'm like, okay, I don't know.
Even as I'm a big Patriots fan, as you can see with all the stuff behind me, but I sit here and I'm like thinking about, where would Belichick be a good coach? Imagine if he was coaching the Chargers, dude.
That's the big one floating around.
Yeah,
he could pull a Lombardi
right?
and go to Washington Washington. They're going to be a made for coach this year.
There you go, dude.
Vince. Yeah.
There's some spots,
Spice.
man. Okay. I don't want to talk about the Patriots anymore. They stink. Real quick, let's answer this question. We got Twitch glasses for the Twitch gang. Braves fan wants to know Flowers or Kirk? 2 questions. First one, Flowers or Kirk?
Flowers. It's an odd week, so 10 targets guaranteed.
Yeah. And then Stroud or Trevor Lawrence? Stroud against the Falcons. Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I think I'm going Trevor Lawrence as well. Stroud, I wouldn't be like, it's not even a situation where you always start Trevor Lawrence over CJ Stroud. It's that Stroud doesn't really have that good of a matchup. If he had a better matchup, I would be willing to go there.
There's not an ocean between these guys. You're right. It's just a preference.
No, there's not. Okay, we didn't even get through the 1:00 games, but we're gonna do a quick FFPC team first, and then we'll come back and just rapid fire games. When I say rapid fire, you gotta go rapid. All right, I'm not afraid to yell at you.
Yeah.
I yelled at Sam Wagman last week. I mean, we got stuff to do here. We're trying to get through all this stuff.
I can handle it.
First thing, I know you can, dude. And then I'll come on your show and you can yell at me, like old times.
That's what I got this for.
Folks out here, what we're doing now, we're building an FFPC team. This is quickly becoming my favorite weekly way to play because there's none of the salary. There's no draft. There's no weird rules. It's literally you just pick all the best guys with the best matchups. The one rule is you can't pick 2 guys from the same team, But I actually like that because sometimes you see these weeks where it's like, the perfect example is Tua and Tyreek Hill. Like people stack them up, and if one throws for 200 yards, throws for 500 yards, the other guy runs for 200. It's like you lose if you don't have them. In this format, you can only pick one guy from each team, so it kind of stops that, the stack attack and all that. So it's kind of cool, and it's like you can pick like anybody. Like these teams are loaded, so we really have to think about matchups, and we really have to think about what if it's like a quarterback or wide receiver. Do we want to start with the wide receiver? Do we want to start the quarterback? So I know you love Bijan this week, so let's just get him in right away, right?
Please
You
get
said
him
Bijan.
in ASAP.
Any other props that you're smashing? Because if you have props you're smashing, we should just put those players in. So
I like
right off the
like
bat,
I mentioned earlier, I like Breece Hall over rushing this week. I think it was 60.5 when I saw it last. Love that. If we can want to throw a little Breece in there,
let's
off
get
the
him
snap
in.
count, ready to rock.
And that's great. I love guys like that because we're not going to start anybody else from these teams, right? So it's like it's not like, oh, should we start Breece Hall or a different Jet, right? You're starting Breece Hall, you're not starting anybody. So good. So we got 2 running backs in, wide receivers. We got to have so the shootout game. I know there's been some fake shootouts. Chiefs and Vikings. Do we just start Jefferson and Kelsey? I mean, it's.
Yeah, I think sometimes it is that simple, and I think that Vegas would be backing us up on that one pretty handily. The Vikings defense a lot softer than their metrics show.
Yeah, it's like we can get cute with lineups elsewhere, or if it works, it works. Like it's like, okay, now we can't start Mahomes, but we can find another quarterback. So we have to get a. So okay, let's go Tua. Okay, because we have to get somebody in there. Yeah, the Dolphins have been the tough one because it's like, do you pick Tua? Do you pick Tyreek? Do you pick? They have so many studs, but we can get access to all of it kind of if we pick Tua.
Yep.
For let's get, we need to get at least another wide receiver in there. Who has a good match? We don't like Nico Collins.
I want you to talk me out of something here. I want you to talk me out of Puka. Puka against
Cooper Kupp's back, man. Cooper Kupp's gonna play.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a feast going on. Philly 5th worst against wide receivers.
They still have Darius Slay and James. Okay, well, I'll tell you that Cooper Kupp was one word, but James Bradbury played more snaps in the slot last week. He's not afraid to go in there. It's not like the Jets where who's playing the Jets this week, actually.
The Jets, where'd you go, baby? The Jets.
I want to get if they have a good Broncos. Okay, so I think we should get Jerry Jeudy in there because the Jets corners don't go into the slot. They refuse. They've actually combined between the two of them 2 slot snaps between DJ Reed. Sauce Gardner has 0 slot snaps this year. Last year he played over 1,000 snaps on the season, only 9 in the slot. So let's get the slot wide receiver.
So we like this is Jerry Jeudy's audition tape for his next team. Basically, is what we're going with this.
That's what we're doing. Yeah. Well, you look at the Cowboys. This is how like clear it is. The Cowboys put CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and the Jets just said, "Hey, you know what? We're going to let our guys get fried. Like we're just going to let our slot corner get fried." And they lost the game. They just they did not put Sauce or Reed in there, and they just lost. And CeeDee Lamb had like 150 yards. So let's just follow that.
Can we just go full? Can we just go full alpha real quick and put our faith in the Bengals to right the ship against the worst defense by EPA in the league in the Cardinals? With a little Jamar Chase.
Yeah, why not, dude? Who cares? Like that's what's awesome about these lineups. It's like you can do almost whatever you want. Like it is wild. So we have Jefferson in. What other games do we have to get players from that team? Like, do we want access to the? We have to get an Eagle in there, right?
So what do we have? We have Eagles. We've got
AJ Brown or Devonta Smith.
God, AJ Brown is on an absolute tear right now.
Just put him in. Who cares?
Yeah. Who is our
teams that win this? The teams that win this each week. That's what they look like, right? And basically, for those that haven't played, you can do 10 teams where the winner gets a $350 entry into the Fantasy Pros contest next year, or you can do 30 teams where the winner gets a bunch of money, or you do 100 teams where the winner gets a bunch of money. We're doing 30 teams here, so $35 buy-in. $35 buy-in, and it's 30 teams, and the winner gets paid. And I'll throw you a little something, Chuck, if we win, because you know what, you're
nice, clutch. I need to pay the rent somehow. How do we feel about a Devontae Adams revenge game?
He's a little nicked up, but what's the word on him?
He's still bruising a little bit.
Now let's get him in there. And then who's the ringer? Chat. What do you guys got for ringers out there? What do we got? DJ Reed's ruled out. Okay, well that helps us even. Yeah, the chat wanted Devontae. Jamin, or is it Hamon? I think that's ham in Spanish.
So we have no Bills. We have no Jaguars.
So do you want to lean? Here's the sneaky one is that. Let me know what you thought on this. I think Nico Collins is going to have a tough day with AJ Terrell, and that's going to be a Tank Dell game. So there's where we go all stars and sneak Tank Dell in.
So does that counter our hesitation with CJ Stroud in any way, or are we saying that it can still be a pullback? Okay.
We say that, like, if you can throw for 250 yards and a touchdown, and it can, and Nico Collins can have none of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm good with that, unless you wanted to go with like an Olave or a Michael Thomas.
You know what I like about all these guys on our team right now is that they're just big dogs. They
are dogs. This is a dog squad. All right. What's the dog play at kicker? Oh, actually, Brett Maher. Linda has Brett Maher ranked top 5, and we don't have a Ram.
Oh God. So, I think that might be the move then. I was feeling some Rams, and let's get one who's having a hell of a season in there, and let's let it be.
Now this could be the make or break. Defense.
Oh,
Titans can't go Cardinals. Saints against the Patriots.
Gut feeling is Ravens. Honestly, as crazy as that sounds, only
one team
in the Ravens Steelers. Only one team in the Ravens Steelers matchup in the last 5 matchups has gone over 19 points. I mean, those are gruesome games.
Okay. All right, Ravens Steelers. That's it. That's the lineup, folks. If you want to play, if you want to get in here, if you think you can do better, jump in. Go to myffpc.com. You use promo code Coop, COOP. They'll give you $25 when you deposit $35 or more. Here's the secret, though. The 2 games they have here, they're $35 or $200 entry. So don't deposit $35, deposit $45. You deposit $45, they'll give you $25. Now you got 2 weeks, right? You play $35, or deposit whatever the hell you want. You know what I mean? Deposit a bunch of money. They're regular leagues. You can play like $5,000 here. This is the home of high stakes fantasy. So check it out. It's the same format that they do for their playoff fantasy. But I mean, you just watched us. You could start whoever the heck you want. It's a lot of fun. These teams are crazy sometimes. So check that out. All right, back to the action. We didn't even get through half the games. We've got through pretty much the entire show. So this is just going to be all rapid fire rest of the way, Chuck. All right.
Love it. That's what I live for.
Ravens at Steelers +4.5, over under 38. Brutal, as you said. Terrible game. That might be too high. That might actually be too high. Yeah. But if the score is 19-19, that's 38. So I mean, you said 19 points is kind of the number. Gus Edwards. Give me a RB1, RB2, RB3, RB4 this week. Where is he?
Gus Edwards, RB3. This game has just got grossness written all over it. You know, Lamar's only played the Ravens twice since 2020.
Dude.
Or the Steelers, sorry.
Yeah, because he hasn't been healthy.
Crazy.
Do you know that? Yeah. Here's another one for these gross games. Mark Andrews has never scored a touchdown against the Steelers.
Oh, that's going to just make me a broke boy this week. I'm going to
never one time, bro. Not one time. He did have
I've got Mark Andrews everywhere.
They did have that like one shootout game in the playoffs. He had 100 yards but didn't score. Yeah, so he has never scored against this team. Maybe this is the week. Herms wants to know, will the Steelers win? Yes or no? Will the Steelers win, or will he cry all Sunday? Will he cry? Will Herms cry this week? Yes or no?
Happy tears.
Happy tears. All right. So the answer is yes, regardless. Here, let's get a question for Herms that won't hurt his feelings. Is Kenny Pickett a franchise quarterback? Yes or no?
Yes, just not in the NFL.
Franchise. The franchise is like KFC.
He's
just gonna. I mean, he's got enough money that at this point, if he wanted to buy like a ground lease on some gas stations, he'd be set for life. So he'll be fine.
I think he just needs to go the AB route and buy like an arena team and then play for them.
There you go, dude. Honestly, that's not a crazy move. Dude, is that what Antonio Brown's doing?
That's what he was doing, and then his team got like removed from the league after his
Oh my God.
his antics, his shenanigans.
Yeah. You know, his dad is like the greatest arena football player of all time.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Eddie
what
Brown.
kind of like spurred him to get in
Yeah.
and get it going.
They
Mr. Big
voted
Chest. All
him.
right.
I saw a vote and they voted him number one, and number two is Kurt Warner. That's crazy
Mm,
business. Right?
Kurt
So okay.
slinging.
Let's go to 4 o'clock. Got to get through these. Bengals at Cardinals +3. Totals 44. We already said that we're in on Jamar Chase. If T. Higgins doesn't play this week, is Tyler Boyd flex worthy? Like, is he a guy we're considering? Is he a DFS play? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think he's both, mainly because I don't think there's any scenario where I have just full confidence in Joe Burrow in this offense to bounce back. The defense has struggled, but I just think this is going to be a high scoring game for them. It's really just the injury. I mean, he's too good and he's too elite for this offense not to come through against a perfect matchup.
For sure. Joe Mixon. It sounds like you're in on the Bengals. So is Mixon a buy for you or just a hold?
Hold.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't shown me anything to make me encouraged to go after him, and their running game has been too telegraphed. Also, it's just not what you want.
On the other side of the ball with the Cardinals, Michael Wilson or Rondale Moore, who do you believe in?
Oh, Michael Wilson looks excellent, flying up dynasty
boy,
ranks, looking great. I want Cardinals, man. If you can get Cardinals, get them. But he's definitely above Rondale for me.
Michael Wilson, I mean, he could end up being like the Terry McLaurin, where like nobody really liked him, but he was a 3rd-round pick, and he just landed in a spot where the team was rebuilding, so he just gets a job right away and never gives it up. That was basically Terry McLaurin. Say what you will, very few people before the draft loved Terry McLaurin because he came from the same team as Paris Campbell. They both came from Ohio State, and Paris Campbell went in the 2nd round, and people were like, oh yeah, it's like that kind of has you fading these guys a little bit, but Terry McLaurin proved to be awesome. I think Michael Wilson could be a little bit of the same thing. Comes from Stanford. He was banged up. But anyway, old man Ertz, the target machine. Are you in or out on the Ertz wagon?
I don't have a choice but to be in. Like we're talking about with tight ends, right? It's the have not. 2nd in air yards, only to the Falcons tight end who will not be named. 2nd in red zone looks like he's there. He is.
He's right there.
Still hasn't broken a tackle though.
He knew he's not going to. Don't hold your breath on that. This guy, I mean, he never really did. He's only has one 1,000-yard season, and he had to get 150 targets. That's just not his game, but targets are king. Eagles at Rams +4. The total is 50. So this should be a good one. Dallas Goedert, man. Again, we already talked about him. I said hold him. You have to hold him because he's just as good as the other options, but he also has the benefit of being a handcuff if one of the wide receivers get hurt. There it is. That's it. DeAndre Swift, is he for real? For you, is he an RB1 or an RB2 in fantasy football? Or an RB3?
He's an RB1 all day. That he continues to go, what is his stat? Like 5 yards before contact? I mean, it's just like the opposite of Najee Harris. I mean, sometimes it's just easy, and this is easy. You don't have to overthink it. Every week, fire up.
Yeah. Speaking of fire, producer Ernie, you're not going to tell me that I left this on the screen the whole time, the FFPC draft that we did like 10 minutes ago. Come on,
it's just that good. It was just that good.
It's a good team. So Cooper Kupp, I mean, everyone has to give their breakdown of what they think happens to Puka Nacua, to Tutu Atwell, to Van Jefferson when Cooper Kupp gets back to Tyler Higbee. I mean, what do you think this offense looks like?
I'll throw a little concern out there and say, because I do feel strongly about him, and I think this could be a game where they show if they're for real or not. My only concern is that when that line breaks down for Matthew Stafford, he immediately flips it to Tutu Atwell. That's what's happened in every game so far this year. When he's had a clean pocket, it's been a little different. If that line can't hold up, that would be my concern for a Puka.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that, if the line doesn't hold up, then that like Tutu's probably in trouble too, because he's a high ADOT guy. So, yeah, they're going to have to dump it. We got a question here real quick. Big fan of the stream. Already a sub, dude. Thank you, man. We appreciate it. The subs, the likes, that's what keeps us going. That's what feeds our kids. Do you got to offer DJ Moore? Sorry, I can't read it when it's right there. DJ Moore for Devontae Adams. I personally would rather have Devontae Adams.
You can't go wrong here. So you have to ask yourself, do you trust the quarterback situation for the Vegas more than you trust the one for the Bears, I'll push back against you and I'll say I'll trust the Bears more between Jimmy and Aiden O'Connell and Josh McDaniels. I'm disgusted, even though I think Devontae is the better player, obviously.
That's fair. And again, you can't really accept a trade because one guy's already played and one guy's playing this weekend. So just wait and see what Devontae looks like. But I don't know. I think that even when the Raiders are bad, they're going to throw it to Devontae. Whereas who knows with the Bears? But you're right. I mean, DJ Moore's look, he looked amazing yesterday. Jets at Broncos minus 2.5, totals 43.5. Is there a bet there?
Bet on a pregame push and shove. Bet for warm up shenanigans going on between. I don't know. Somebody's going to get confronted here, and I don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm staying the hell away.
We have two minutes. Yes or no's. Zach Wilson, is he real? Is he back?
No,
definitely not, dude.
No.
Jaleel McLaughlin. Are you rostering him anywhere?
Yes, like the Broncos run game.
Good.
Like it.
Marvin Mims, is he ever going to play like even a 50% snap share? Yes or no?
No, not this year.
No, I don't think so either. Chiefs at Vikings plus 3.5, 53-point over under. Is this another fake shootout? There's been like 10 fake games that are supposed to be shootouts. Are we getting a real shootout or a fake one, Chuck? Over under on 53.
Taking the over, but it's a firing squad. Chiefs on the Vikings, not necessarily a shootout.
Ooh, okay. I like that. I think that's entirely possible. Favorite Chiefs wide receiver, one name.
Rashee Rice.
Yes, let's go, Chuck. That's the right answer. Same question with the Marvin Mims. Does Jordan Addison surpass KJ Osborne at any point in snaps, or is KJ Osborne just going to be playing more than him for the whole year?
I think he will surpass him, but not in an incredibly meaningful way. Maybe goes from a couple targets beneath to maybe a couple targets, but more. It just depends. But I not enough to move the needle.
Okay. Sunday Night Football. Cowboys at 49ers minus 3.5, 45. Just pick a winner for me. Just straight up winner. Cowboys at 49ers.
Cowboys, because it's their Super Bowl.
I love that, dude. Can Dak Prescott read a defense?
Read ... a defense. Yes, he can. Dak Prescott is underrated.
So Brandon Cooks, does he do anything at any point or no?
Nope, doesn't exist. Never did.
Ferguson, do you believe in the Fergalicious?
I'm confused because it doesn't make any sense. I need more information.
Yeah, we need him to play more. If at any point he plays like a 70% snap share in one game, then I'm in. Okay, Monday night, we almost made it. Packers, Raiders, pick a winner. That's a -1, so it's a pick 'em basically.
Packers and the cover.
That's it, baby. All right, Chuck, tell everybody where your stuff is at, and we're going to get out.
I'm Chuck Bass. I host This Guy Sucks podcast and other fantasy shows Sunday mornings, and I'm always there when you need me. Call me.
Chuck, you're the man, dude. Thank you, buddy. All right, we're out of here. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Earn Dog.
Appreciate it.